Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is James Pasternak. I'm the chair of North York Community Council. We have quorum. I'm now calling meeting 22 to order. Although we're meeting in different locations today, North York Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, Chippewa, Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississauga of the Credit. Today's meeting is being held by video conference. It's being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. If you're registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in order that they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting North York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council by clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. If you haven't registered, please register with the clerk if you're here in person. Members, the city clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Are there any declarations of interest in the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Councillors. That is a no? Oh.
No declarations.
No declarations. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our meeting of February the 19th, 2025? Councillor Chernos-Lynn. Okay. I'm just looking for a motion to confirm the minutes from...
I'm happy to do that, though. So.
Okay. No. A rough morning. Okay. Councillor Chernos-Lynn, since your hand keeps going up, I think I'm going to give you that honor. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we have 26 items on the agenda and 1 item of new business. We can now run through the agenda. We have top of the agenda. We have a number of timed items. 22.1, 1 Broadlands Boulevard. This is being held for speakers, and it's timed for 9:30. 22.2, 150 the Donway. This is also held for 9:30, and is also held for speakers. Yeah, Councillor Chernos-Lynn, you have a point of order? Right, so at the end of the public agenda, we will add your walk-on item.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So number 3, 150 the Donway West, and 4 Overland Drive. That's a timed item for 9:30, and we're going to hold that for speakers. Number 4 is 3377 Bayview Avenue, draft plan of subdivision application. We're holding that for speakers. Two Tippett, 22.5. That official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications. I'm going to move the staff recommendations, but I will express some concern that the first I heard about this file was when the agenda was published. I did not hear from the property owner or the applicant or planning staff. So it was a bit of a surprise. This was a very quick roadmap to appeal, but I'll move the city. I'll move the I'll move staff recommendations to have legal counsel attend to the Ontario Land Tribunal. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. .6, 499 Briar Hill Avenue, request for fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code. Is Councillor Cole on the line? Okay, we're going to hold it down to wait direction from Councillor Cole, and we do have speakers on the item. 22.7, 390 Glencairn Avenue, application to remove a private tree. We're going to hold that for public speakers as well. And it's also in Councillor Cole's ward. 22.8, 21 TP Court, application to remove a private tree. We're going to hold that for public speakers. 22.9, 17 to 31 Henning Avenue, residential demolition application. We're also going to hold that for speakers. And 22.10, 55 and 57 Montgomery Avenue, residential demolition application. We're also holding that for speakers. 103 to 145 Green Gardens Boulevard, and a series of addresses on Hooyo Terrace and Turtle Island Road. This is a designation of fire routes and amendments to Chapter 880 Fire Codes. Councillor Cole? I'm going to move staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.12, 12 Bannockburn Avenue, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Routes. Councillor Cole? I'm going to move staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.13, 1165 Leslie Street, designation of fire routes amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Routes.
Move staff recommendations.
Councillor Burnside is moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.14, 25 Lesmill Road, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Routes. Councillor Burnside.
Move
Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.15, Exbury, traffic calming. I'm going to move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.16 Scarsdale Road, traffic calming, speed humps. Councillor Burnside?
Move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations. Staff recommendations moved on Scarsdale Road. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.17 Maxome Avenue, traffic calming, speed humps. Councillor Cheng?
Move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved on 17 Maxome Avenue. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 1886 to 1928 Eglinton Avenue West. Construction staging area. Councillor Cole? I'm going to move the staff recommendations. Staff recommendations moved. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Number 19, 22.19, 18A Downsview Park Boulevard, introduction of overnight on-street parking, on-street permit parking, permit area. This is a unique situation. I will move staff recommendations on 19. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.20 Wembley Road, removal of accessible parking space. Councillor Cole? I'm going to move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.21, 230 and 240, the Donway West, exclusion of the development from the permit parking program. Councillor Burnside. Counselor
Sorry,
Burnside.
move staff recommendations.
Counselor Burnside is moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.22 Duncan Mill Road, pedestrian crossing protection.
I have a motion.
Oh, okay. Let's put it on the screen. Okay, so the recommendations in the agenda you are replacing?
Correct. If you need an explanation, I'm happy to do so, but.
Just take 30 seconds and explain what you're doing
Okay, so
here.
March of Dimes, we're on, actually in Councillor Chernos Lynn's ward. As a result of Metrolinx construction, they have to move. They've moved up into the industrial area right near FedEx and Purolator, amongst other businesses in the area. So I believe they're going to be ready to open in June. Of course, our transportation department is limited. They did a study, but of course, without the March of Dimes folks there, the study doesn't tell them anything. And if we wait, with all the folks coming to March of Dimes that will need to get across the street, if we wait to June or July for council to make that decision, it of course could be 6 months without that pedestrian crossover. So this is one of those occasions where we actually need to be very proactive and get the ball moving as quickly as possible to make crossing the street safe for the folks attending March of Dimes.
All right, one question for the mover. I assume you've been working with transportation staff to vet this.
It's an excellent assumption.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for the mover? No? Okay. The motion is before us. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item is amended. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.23 Steeles Avenue East and Bayview Avenue, improving pedestrian safety and signal timing operations. This is Councillor Carroll, who is not here today, but I will move these.
Can I speak? Because it's actually my ward.
It's your ward. Okay, so let's hold the item down.
Well, just really quickly, we can pass it.
And we're moving, the recommendations to move receipt. Okay, Councillor Chang will speak very briefly.
Yeah, I just want to thank staff. They met me at this intersection to analyze the situation on a very cold day. And, you know, what people don't know is many people don't know what is a truck apron. If I took a survey of everyone in this room and I said, "What do you know what a truck apron is?" Probably a lot of you would have a picture of an apron wrapped around a truck. And so at this intersection now, a sign has been mounted. And while we were there, we actually saw a person stand on the truck apron thinking that it was an extension of the curb. So the sign is going to be helpful. How long we need to socialize this new idea, I don't know. But I'm grateful for the steps that have been taken, which I think will increase safety at the intersection, as well as the signal timing. So just moving receipt with gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Chang. Just a slight change to the word. We're going to adopt the recommendation, moving adoption. Okay, any other speakers on the item? We're good to go. Those in favor of adopting the recommendations? Opposed? That is carried. 22.24, Vision Zero Road Safety Plan speed limit reductions to 30 kilometers per hour on local roads, public lanes. This is Councillor Carroll. I'm going to move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.25, changes to Bayview Leaside Business Improvement Area Board of Management. Councillor Chernos Lynn.
I'd like to move the staff recommendation to support the new member. Thank you.
Okay. Staff recommendations move on to 22.25, Leaside Bayview, Leaside Business Improvement Area Board of Management. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.26, DeFresnay Court and Grenoble Drive parking amendments implement no stopping. Councillor Burnside?
Move staff recommendations.
Staff recommendations moved by Councillor Burnside. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 22.27, naming recommendations for a parcel of land within Lawrence Park Ravine to J. Robinson Park. So a motion to introduce all those. So Councillor Chernos-Lynn, I think this was what you were referring to earlier.
It is, and I'd like to hold the item for 11 o'clock. To
Okay.
do it as a timed item, thank you, with the indulgence of the chair and my colleagues.
Okay, so let's do two things. Let's put it on the agenda. So all those in favor of adding it to the agenda? Opposed? That is carried. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, we're back up to the top of the agenda. 1 Broadlands Boulevard zoning bylaw amendment application, decision report approval. We have speakers on the item. Socrates Karavaslis? Okay. Karates? Socrates? Socrates? Can you unmute your, Socrates, can you unmute your mic, please? Can you hear us? Okay. Socrates, if you can hear us, we'll come back to you in a few minutes. Christian Chan? And are you the applicant?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm the agent for the applicant.
Okay.
And
You have 5 minutes?
Thank you. And if I can ask the clerk, please, to put up the presentation that I sent in yesterday.
I'll put just a dog park.
Okay, great, thanks. So, good morning, Mr. Chair and councilors. My name is Christian Chen. I'm the agent and land use planner for the applicant. The application for a zoning bylaw amendment is for a 3-story stacked and back-to-back townhouse development on a currently vacant site that was a former Toronto Hydro site at 1 Broadlands. It's at the corner of Underhill Drive and Broadlands Boulevard at the southeast corner. I'd just like to take the time also to thank city staff, Mr. Richard Martin, for working with me on this file, as well as the councilors' staff, Mary and Jim, who we've been in communication with as well, to coordinate and convey information to the surrounding community. We've held a community meeting, 2 community meetings on this file, receiving comments from the community for traffic impact, concerns related to traffic impacts, as well as the built form and the tenure of the proposal. So the site is served directly by a TTC bus abutting it, and this speaks to the concerns regarding traffic. Although the development is proposing 21 dwelling units, the site is to contain 10 parking spaces, 7 of which are resident spaces, and 3 of which are visitor and 1 accessible space, and 22 bike parking spaces. A transportation impact study has been submitted on it, which was accepted by Transportation Services staff. And the conclusion of that transportation impact study was that there would be limited impacts upon the turning movements from Broadlands Boulevard onto Underhill Drive. The site is currently designated in the official plan as neighborhoods, which permits a low-rise residential built form of up to 4 stories for residential uses. It is currently zoned as residential detached, which does not permit a stacked townhouse use, which is defined in the zoning bylaw as an apartment building, and therefore the RM zone classification is sought for the site. Just to note as well, the surrounding neighborhood has a number of RM residential multiple zones with 4-story apartment buildings, and what we're proposing to be approved today is for a 3-story building, so not even to the height of what the surrounding apartment buildings are. Underhill Drive can be characterized as something that's similar to a major street. It's a 27-meter planned right-of-way width. It contains a number of higher order of residential development than residential detached homes. It also contains a series of mixed-use zones to the north of the site with a commercial plaza. There are also institutional uses along Underhill Drive, as well as educational uses in close proximity. So the proposed development is, in my opinion, something that's substantially in line with the vision and goals of the Expanding Housing Options and Neighborhoods Initiative and study by the city. It's a missing middle development in the form of stacked and back-to-back townhouses. And also speaking to the site plan, what's been discussed with city staff, even through the zoning bylaw amendment application stage, is significant improvements to the site's landscaping. From what was initially proposed, additional soil volume areas were made possible by the landscape plan, and both on the property itself and on the city boulevard, a total of 11 trees are proposed for the site, and this would substantially improve the tree canopy around the site. A lot of details were discussed with urban design staff regarding the appropriate location of the entrances of the development. Obviously, this has gone through a number of iterations of the proposal since 2021 when it was originally submitted. For example, height has been adjusted. Also, the massing has been adjusted, as well as the form and number of units. So again, this development is proposed at a 10.3 meter height, which is 1 foot over the permitted maximum in the existing RD zone standards. And so the height that's being proposed for this development is not substantially more than what would be permitted as of right.
If you
Although
could,
the form
if you
has
could wrap up, please. You're at 5 minutes.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. Those will be my comments, and happy
All
to
right,
answer any
thank you very
questions.
much. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much. Sapna Sharma? Sapna Sharma? Let's go back to Socrates Karavasalis. Could you, Socrates, could you please unmute your mic?
There. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. So I just have one question and one concern. My question is, the initial meeting that I was at, the drawings showed the project as an apartment building, like a kind of a box kind of a building, whereas now it's being called stacked townhouse, but I'm unable to see drawings anywhere. Whatever I research shows me a bird's eye view. Will they in fact be townhouses?
No, this is not a Q&A session. You have 5 minutes to share your views. That's it.
Well, is it an apartment building or stacked townhouses?
I'm
That's a
sorry,
valid
it's not
question.
a
Okay.
question and answer period. You
Okay.
have 5 minutes to express your opinion on this application.
Okay, then my concern is there's 21 residences and 7 parking spots. It's not on the subway line, so there's a good chance all 21 residents will own vehicles, which means those vehicles, the other 14 vehicles, maybe 14, maybe 5, maybe 20, I don't know, are going to end up on Broadlands Boulevard. What does that mean for parking enforcement? There's no permit parking. How is that's going to impact snow plowing, etc.? Has this been taken into consideration? Those are my concerns.
All right. Well, no, it's a very valid point. It's something to take up with your local counselor and planning. Certainly, if it's illegal to park on Donlands, then you call parking enforcement. There's no restrictions. It's a 3-hour limit, and that's about it. Any questions for the deputant?
Well, my question is, Is it an apartment building or stacked
No,
townhouses?
no, no
I'd like to
questions.
see a
No,
drawing.
I'm asking counselors whether they have a question for you. This process is coming to an end. I'm assuming you had a public meeting, and of course,
Yeah, and it's not clear. Nothing has been clarified. I'm curious about the amendment. Is it just the change in the name to appease residents, or is it in fact a change in the project?
I don't know. Well, look, it's not being finally decided today. We're going to vote on it in a minute, and it'll go to city council. Between now and the next city council meeting, which I believe is at the end of the month, you can work with your city councilor and planning staff to get clarification for your questions. All righty?
So once the decision has been made, okay, I appreciate it. Once
Yeah.
the decision has been made, then whatever it is, I guess.
Yeah, no
Thank you.
final decisions being made today. We're going to send a recommendation to city council today. But then you have,
Okay, thank you for your time.
yeah, you have a number of weeks to get clarification.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Socrates. One last chance for Sapna Sharma. Okay, so we're moving on. Questions for staff? Councillor Burnside?
Yeah, I just want to confirm, is this an apartment building or a townhouse development? What?
Through you, Chair. Morning, everyone. The proposal is a townhouse building. It's stated in the report. It's a stock townhouse building, 3-story 9.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Are those your questions? Yeah, Mr. Sharma has just gone online, so we're going to hear him. We're going to deviate from procedure just slightly. Mr. Sharma?
Well, hold on, I reserve the right to ask questions again then, should anything arise from his statement. Thank you. Sure.
Mr. Sharma?
Hello, could you hear me?
Oh, Sapna?
So first and foremost, my pronouns are she, her.
All right, you have 5
so
minutes.
I'm a resident, born and raised of the community, and I've been present at some of the public meetings over the years. And right now online, it's marketed as rental units, which raises a flag. And my concern is the quality of demographics that the City of Toronto is pushing a mandate into the current community. As mentioned in Christian Chan's presentation, this was previously a commercial, unresidential site. So the current amendment is new. It is not in line with the current development of Underhill, although it may be classified as a whatever street was referenced. I'm unfamiliar with that. I would like to note that the Underhill itself starts at Lawrence Avenue East and continues only until the Cassandra Brookbanks area. It's a very short street. The only bus that goes on that route is the 91 Woodbine. It's not a major bus route. It's very much a residential community area with long-term residents like my mother and father who are immigrants who've lived in the area since 1970. So to see this type of multi-unit residential development happening that's catering to renters who are going to be maybe higher turnover than the current demographics is a concern. Additionally, the current schools in the area, public schools, Ranchdale, Cassandra, Broadlands, I sent in an email of the current baseball diamonds that have been completely disarrayed and amalgamated throughout the years that are unplayable. I am currently a Baseball Canada woman coach looking to build girls in the game of girls softball and girls baseball at the young age. There are no diamonds in the current community that I can access and play. Furthermore, the diamonds that are available are extremely expensive, full regulation site for adult players. There's no focus on the children that are coming into the community and looking to build their life around the community. Underhill itself is not a major development street. There's only one commercial plot on that land. That's a community. It has restaurants, it has one grocery store, and it has a dance studio, and other community residents use that area as a gathering space. I'm worried with the current development catering to renters only online. It's not speaking to the demographics of the area. So my concerns today are the overdevelopment in the area, the lack of parking for the current residents, the lack of accessibility of the current residents to utilize the parks and green spaces in a safe manner. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Sapna, any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much. Back to questions for staff. Councillor Burnside, you asked for a second round?
No, I'm okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? No? Okay. Speakers?
Yeah, I'll just speak quickly.
Councillor Burnside?
Yeah, so I won't be supporting this. I recognize it's an uphill battle with my colleagues, given the fact that it is a 3-story stacked townhouse. And, you know, we do have a lot of pressure from the province and the federal government to increase housing options. My concern is which actually the deputant did mention, is that there are only 3 visitor parking spots. And for 21 units, I believe it's 21 units, the dearth of parking is a huge issue in an area where, you know, there's one bus and it's not it doesn't come by that often, so the frequency is somewhat low. And then also the driveway, which I did try to get changed off of the side street onto the main street, I thought would have really changed the impact on the neighborhood. I was unsuccessful with the transportation department in that regard, so I will not be supporting this.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Burnside. Any other speakers on the item? No? Okay. Councillor Chernos-Lynn.
I just want to comment on Councillor Burnside's remark around routing traffic through our side streets. This is something, I mean, this is a relatively small scale development. I know residents are concerned, but in my ward, we have 50-story towers that are now becoming routine. And regardless of which ones they are, it does seem like our priorities are not to put traffic onto main streets. Underhill isn't exactly a main street. I know it's sort of like the main thoroughfare in this area, but it does strike me that us consistently routing traffic through side streets is really problematic in terms of safety. And I strongly feel that we as a council ought to be looking at this a little bit differently. I worry about kids who are walking to school and pedestrians on side streets. And I know this is a relatively small development. This is a small development in comparison to some of the others we're seeing. But if we keep doing this over and over and over again, it's like we're encouraging people to drive through neighborhoods instead of using our thoroughfares. So I just wanted to make sure my comments were on record about that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Chernos-Lynn. Any other speakers on the item? Okay. We need someone to move staff recommendations. You want a recorded vote? Yeah? Okay. Recorded vote. All those in favor? All those in favor? Councillor Pasternak. Opposed? Councillor Chernos-Lynn, Councillor Burnside, and Councillor Cheng. Okay. Item 22.2, 150 the Donway West and 4 Overland Drive. Kim Draskovic. Yeah. It's all right, take your time. Thank you very much for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the bylaw first. The OLT, the Ontario Land Tribunal, on October 21st, 2021, ordered that in Section 7, that buildings that existed before any zoning applied or that complied with former regulations or had previous approvals were exempted from the more restrictive provisions of new bylaw 569. Now, this order has exempted the lands from bylaw 569, and that is because bylaw 1479 was passed. Now, on the report for action, page 3, the background file says bylaw 1156 passed, but it didn't. It was repealed, and therefore the lands remained under bylaw 7625, zoned RM5 and RM6. Okay, so let's see here. So the zoning amendment application is requesting an amendment to bylaw 569 for 150 the Donway West. But since the lands are under bylaw 7625, that would void the application. Furthermore, it goes on to amend 4 Overland Drive to convert 4 Overland Drive to 569. And then it has on the overlay map 99530, which was zoning code for CL, commercial land. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I mean, that's really strange. Anyway, so as we go on further, part of their submission shows that they're going to have a ground floor area of 17,500 square feet only for a tall building and a 9-story building, a mid-rise building. However, to meet that number, they had to go down 3 parking levels down because the square footage of that gets reduced from your square footage of the buildings, thus making it look like it is acceptable, only 17,000 square feet in total, which isn't right. That's your GFA. And they also want to change the floor space index to 39, and under bylaw 7625, 1479 that went through amending that, it's only 0.8 and 0.9. So that's a huge floor space index change. Additionally, if you look at the provincial planning statement and the Central Don Mills secondary plan, they do not comply with what is being proposed. It says right in there on page 10, section 3, item B, identify the appropriate type of scale of development in strategic growth areas and transition of built form to adjacent areas. The area and the surrounding areas is all residential, and it is small buildings, single bungalow homes, single family homes, a long-term care home, 2.5 stories or 3 stories across the street. This is a very residential area. It's not on the Donway West, and it is the right-of-way. The reason why they're attaching the buildings, I believe, is because to use the address for the Donway West. It's not on the Donway West. The front entrance of the building will be right on Overland Drive, and this mid-rise building will be right on Paper Birch. The streets are no more than 9 meters wide, at best. Now, if you go down to, plus there is also 1,190 residential units that have been added within a 1 to 2 block radius within the last 5 years, and there's another 2,359 residential units already planned for development within a 3 to 4 block radius, and that's a lot of residents within one little zone. And according to the Central Don Mills plan, they would like massing done in the center. So Donway West, Donway East, so in the center of that. And that is where all these buildings are being built. And it says, and lower buildings on the west side of the Donway. This is the west side of the Donway, and this tall building and this mid-rise building just don't fit into the neighborhood or the plans or the provincial planning statement. And it says right here, yes. So in the Central Don Mills Secondary Plan, Section 2, Objectives, G, to preserve the scale height and built form relationship originally provided for in the development concept of Don Mills. And then Section 4.33, Mixed-Use Areas and Apartment Neighborhood, new buildings and additions to existing buildings will be complementary and respect the scale massing and composition of existing buildings and surrounding the Don Mills Center. Taller buildings will be located along Don Mills Road, while lower buildings reflecting the residential community to the west will be along the Donway. This is neither on the Donway or on Don Mills Road. And therefore, I believe that this application should be rejected. Massing, the density, we have a lot here.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much. Jane McFarland? Are you the applicant's representative?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chair, member of council. I have a small presentation I prepared for today. I'm going to share, I've logged into the virtual platform on WebEx, so I'm going to share my screen. Excellent. As mentioned, I'm the planning agent on behalf of the owner of 150 Donway West for Overland Drive. Today's statutory public meeting for both the zoning bylaw amendment application and the related rental housing application. The subject property is located on the Donway West. It also has frontage along Overland and Paper Birch. Currently on site, the property contains 2 rental residential buildings, 4-story and 6 stories in height, a total lot area of 10,210 square meters, a lot frontage of 107 meters on Donway, 85 meters on Paper Birch, and about 100 meters on Overland. The site context, the site is located with the surrounding context that includes a mix of building heights and building typologies. To the west is a low-density residential neighborhood. To the south is a low-density institutional uses. To the north are 2 5-story apartment buildings. To the east, on the other side of Donway West, are 2 11-story residential buildings. Further southeast of the site are 14-story mid-rise buildings. To the southeast, identified on number 4, if you're looking at the web browser, are buildings that are under construction, up to 36 stories in height. To the northwest, there is an approval at 169 Donway for a mixed-use building, including a community center and park, up to 28 stories in height. And to the north, there's an application along Lawrence at the southwest corner of Lawrence and Donway for 3 buildings, 2 of which are in the low 30s in height. In terms of the application, we have had many opportunities to consult with the existing tenants on site as well as the neighborhood. We began our vision for the site in early 2022. We did have a meeting with the residents that was on site in October of 22 before we submitted the application. We submitted the applications at the end of 2022 and conducted an open house with the councillor's office in March of 2023. We had a community consultation meeting a month later that was led by staff and ourselves in April of '23, and a residents meeting to specifically meet with the 10 affected residents in October of last year on October 1st. And today we're at the statutory meeting.
All right, thank you.
Sorry.
You're not done. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had hit the wrong item on my computer. So in terms of what we're proposing, we are proposing a 9-story building and a 15-story building. The 9-story building is 33 meters in height. The 15-story is 50 meters in height. The taller building is oriented towards the Donway, being the major street, larger right-of-way. In total, we are proposing 230 units, and that does include over 45% 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, so those larger units. We are proposing a gross floor area of 17,512 square meters. That's a proposed density of 1.86 FSI. Combined with the existing FSI on site, we have a total proposal for the site of 2.99 FSI. We are proposing a total of 199 parking spaces. That does include 97 existing parking spaces. We are adding 80 new residential parking spaces and 19 visitor parking spaces, as well as 3 PUDO spaces, which are used for short-term delivery, Amazon, food delivery, what have you. And a total of 385 bike parking spaces. Development highlights, we are introducing 230 new rental units to the community and to the site. We are entering into agreements to maintain the existing rental units on site, as well as another agreement to replace the 10 units which we are converting from 2 bedrooms to 1+ den. We are providing a parkland dedication, so we're dedicating land to the city. That's 770 square meters at the southwest corner of the site. We are introducing a landscape courtyard for the residents, and we're introducing improved green spaces. We're also adding amenities to the site. It's a total of 2,154 square meters of a total amenity space, including 559 square meters of indoor and outdoor amenity space. This is a view of the building elevations proposed with the existing buildings on the property. These are some renderings, which I know have been included on the application signs and in the staff report. In terms of the planning applications, the site is currently half within Bylaw 569/2013. That's the eastern half. The western half was held from being incorporated into 569/2013 on its inception. It is maintained under the previous North York zoning bylaw, zoned RM 5 and 6. This was because of a historic application for the western portion of the site for townhouses to occupy the paper birch frontage. Our application proposes to move the entirety of the lands into the new bylaw, zone it all under the RA, the residential apartment, and recognize the site-specific height, density, coverage, amenity space, and setbacks. We do have a holding provision, which is related to engineering. And we have our rental housing demolition application, which is to demolish 10 units, convert them from 2-bedroom to 1-bedroom plus den. However, those 10 rental units will be replaced, locked into an agreement for 10 years at the same affordability levels, and into another agreement to maintain on site for 20 years. That is all I have today. I wish to state that we support the recommendation
All right.
from
You're well over
staff.
time. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions for the deputant?
We have a couple.
Sure.
Could
Councilor Burnside?
you put your picture back with the developments in the neighborhood, please?
Yes. To reshare. There you are.
There you are. Okay. So the existing condos across the street, how tall are they?
Directly across the street, it's two 11-story buildings.
Thank you. And number 2 on the diagram, which goes up the Donway, so east of Don Mills Road, what's the proposal there?
At 1053 Don Mills,
Right, but it actually includes 246 the Donway. It's a bit misleading, but yeah.
that's correct. I don't have the exact details of that proposal.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Burnside, any other questions for the deputant? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kimberly Sanderson? Ms. Sanderson?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You have 5 minutes. Oh, I heard her a second ago. Can you unmute your mic, please?
Hello?
Yes, Kimberly, you have 5 minutes. Can you unmute your mic, please?
Let's try this again. The air
Okay,
rights to the
okay.
area belong to my family.
We can hear
We
you
have
now.
owned them
Please
for
proceed.
over 10 years. Now that everybody seems to think it's fine and dandy to build up the Don Mills area, I would like to remind everybody, first of all, the Don Mills area is a historic planned community. There are reasons, there are protections and height restrictions for the area. There is also, nobody seems to recall this, the buildings were built on backfill. We're building higher and higher and higher, and these buildings are going to come crashing down. I don't know if that's a concern to you all, but I know it's a concern to me. Having lived in this area for many, many, many years, my mother has lived here a lot longer than I have. The area remains the way it does for the simple fact the residents don't want these tall buildings. The eyesore, and that is what the Shops of Don Mills is, the eyesore of the area. It used to be the tallest building was the 75 building. And that was the eyesore. The Shops of Don Mills, kind of like Fairview, decided we're going to build and we're going to ignore all the air rights. And by the way, they are in court over that because they built taller than what we, the owners of the air rights, are saying we will allow without you having to pay for the air rights. Now, you want to build 15 stories. Nope. Not unless you're going to pay $15 per square foot for every unit. That includes every parking spot. And I don't think the renters are going to want to pay that. I don't think the owners are going to want to pay that. Now, what we are willing to allow, which I have spoken to before, is between 10 to 12 stories. That's it. And try to tell me the Shops of Don Mills is only 12 stories? No, it's not. You're looking at what the initial plan was, not what's there now. Now, I don't appreciate everybody coming in and deciding that Don Mills should be built up. You do realize Don Mills is one of the most expensive areas in the city, other than Post Road. Oh wait, Don Mills is right adjacent to the Bridle Path and Post Road. I don't know what you guys are thinking. There will not be affordable housing. There will not be affordable rentals. Why are you trying to build in an area that you should not be building in? You're tearing down places that you don't realize were built there for a reason. The hills that you are planning on building on are there as a retaining wall. You would go ahead. Go on a really rainy day. I'm encouraging this, and see how much flooding those hills get. Go see how much flooding the streets get. That's the reason for the hills, so that all the water isn't draining into the streets and flooding the roads. Our streets cannot maintain the amount of traffic you're all asking for. Our schools can't sustain. And the shops at Don Mills, I don't even know how they're existing with the cost of their stores. So unless they're willing to reduce the height of their buildings to between 12 to 10 stories, I do not approve. And unless they're willing to pay up, they're not going to build it. That's about all I can say to that. And thank you for the first speaker on this matter. You're right on every single aspect you're talking about. And as for the previous spokesperson, the commercial
Okay.
space that they were talking
All right, well,
about
thank
was
you. Thank you
originally
very
the
much
fire
for your
station.
comments. And you're over time. Are there any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Alan Mack? Pratibha Kanarvan? Pratibha?
Aye.
Oh, thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. I've got a lot of feedback on my side. Hello?
You have to
That's better.
turn off your cell phone. Or are you logged in by a cell phone or a iPad?
I don't have any.
Do you have two devices on? If you have two devices on, could you turn one of them off?
Let me just check, but I don't believe I do.
Okay. Please proceed.
Oh, okay.
Pratibha?
Bear with me for 1 second. Yeah, bear with me for 1 second. Okay. Good morning. I live at 75 Paper Birch Drive, which is kitty corner to the 150, the Donway proposed site. With the help of 19 residential households on Paper Birch Drive, we have drafted a fairly detailed note submitted to council and the planners, outlining our concerns. I'm just going to highlight a few of our concerns here now. Frankly, I find it difficult to respond to the application for demolition and conversion separately from the zoning application. The two seem very intertwined. My comments relate mainly to the proposed addition of the two buildings on this site. As one of the homes directly bordering this site, I was only sent one virtual meeting notice last year, which wasn't well circulated to residents in our area who are also impacted by this development, and therefore the session was not well attended. At the time, the plans didn't appear to be well developed. Since then, there has been no additional information or meetings with area residents. I was told by the city planning department at that time that this project wouldn't get underway for at least 5 years, and there was still a long way to go. In fact, the redevelopment sign was taken down from the green space opposite 77 Paper Birch, where the proposed 150, the Donway site, is to be built. And in looking at your
recommendation, I find it's very focused on the tenants with no consideration or consultation of the residents directly facing this development in the homes facing the development. The recent notices that were sent to us lack clarity. There were references to voluminous information online, architectural drawings and site plans and such. Obviously, I should have talked to Kim because she seems to be very well versed in this topic. But we are not architects or planners and have been hard pressed to get a good idea of what is being proposed here. We need a meeting with the planners and the developer to outline the proposal in lay terms. There are 3 issues I would like to highlight: the height of the buildings, parking issues and pedestrian safety on Paper Birch, and the length of construction and disruption to the neighborhood. So the height of the buildings. First, the 9-story building bordering Paper Birch Drive directly. This is higher than the existing co-op building, the seniors building, and the existing apartment buildings on this site. This building should not be any higher than what is there today. As well, there should be more multi-bedroom units to accommodate families. That fits in with the neighborhood and might provide affordable housing for families. Although affordability is not addressed in the planner's recommendation. It's difficult to tell whether there is an entrance on Paper Birch, but I've heard, I think the Weston consultant person mentioned that there is. This would exacerbate the parking situation on Paper Birch and create a safety concern. We have no sidewalks, and 2 cars can't really pass very well with people walking on the street. We're talking about seniors, people on strollers, kids on bikes. Secondly, the 15-story building bordering Overland and the Donway. This is also higher than the condo buildings across the street at the shops of Don Mills, which do not border any homes. At a minimum, the height of this building also needs to be reduced to match what is across the street. Secondly, parking and pedestrian safety. We do not have proper public transportation in this neighborhood. It's still quicker to drive downtown than to make take multiple modes of public transport to get there. Providing 177 parking spaces to service 333 units is unrealistic. When the parking currently available for the existing 133 units, I believe someone mentioned 97 spaces are there now, is already not enough. The existing apartment buildings at 4 Overland and 150 the Donway currently use Paper Birch Drive for overflow parking, even overnight. This is in violation to the overnight parking bylaw in North York. The renovation of the existing units at 4 Overland has also led to construction workers parking on Paper Birch and leaving their debris behind. We've had a toilet
Okay, if
on
you
our
could,
sidewalk for several months.
you're
I
at 5
beg
minutes.
that
If you could wrap up, please.
Weston Consulting got 7 minutes and 36 seconds. I beg you to bear with me. During the winter, the plows cannot clear the streets properly due to the parked cars left.
Your time is up.
385, excuse me, but you gave Weston Consulting 7 minutes and 36 seconds.
Yes, no, that was an
385
error. Anyway, if you don't wrap up your
Well,
deputation, we're going to cut you
I have
off.
2 parts. All right, I will continue at the next
You-
session. I have a
Okay.
lot more.
Yes. No, I see you're down
I'd like the
twice.
record to show that I'd like the record to show that my comments will continue for the next.
Okay, that's fine. No, you have 5 more minutes on the rental housing demolition application. George, questions for the deputant? Okay, thank you. George Kadenmov? Sita Dubois?
Me.
Sita, if you could unmute, please. Sita? Sita, could you please unmute your mic? All right, we're gonna come back to your seat in a few minutes. James Morrow?
There you go. Okay. Hi.
Oh, Sita?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to Kim Draskevich for speaking. She did a great job. I wanted to, I did write a couple of items into council about these projects. I wanted to speak at this point about the impact of steel tariffs on the construction housing industry. I will be right back on there. Just a sec, sorry. The John Mills neighborhood, particularly in the area of 150, the Donway West and 4 Overland, has seen a number of development proposals that have been put on hold or shelved in recent years for a variety of reasons. Currently, we are facing huge uncertainty due to the steel tariffs, and in this case, particularly tariffs on steel such as related to I-beams. Canadian builders are buying most of their critical steel parts, like I-beams, from the US. These parts will be needed in large quantity to undertake residential towers, like the ones we're discussing today. Tariffs on steel have been described as a brutal blow to the housing sector, and therefore to housing affordability. This means significant increases in building costs for Canadians, and therefore projects are being shelved due to uncertainty at this time. Some of the related issues like industry layoffs and closures in the long term are not even fully understood yet. These costs will impact this project and any other project under development. I'm really concerned that council looking to improve this development is looking at approving the development at times of real economic uncertainty in the building industry. So I just wonder why council is looking to approve any of this project or projects at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much. James Morrow? Okay. Okay, so we're done with deputations. I don't have anyone else on the list. Is there anyone that's not been called? Okay, questions for staff? Councillor Burnside?
Yeah, just a couple. Entry, can you just confirm entry and egress to this site under the proposal?
Through the chair, Councillor Burnside, the entrance to the underground parking, it's off the Donway West.
All right, and that's the only entry exit point? Nothing on Overland or Paper Bridge?
No, that's the only one.
Okay, thank you. My second is more about planning principles. And that's about transition into neighborhoods. So we know that they're right across the street are essentially 2 11-story condos, which is on the, I'll say, the inner portion of the Donway. Donway being a collector road, not a minor arterial or an arterial, just a collector road. And so in the inner portion of the development of the shops at Don Mills, there's a lot of different condos going up, and that decision was made many years ago. But right across the street on that site, so across the street from this proposal, it's 211-story. So I thought there was a planning principle of transitioning into neighborhoods. So I would think that this site would be a maximum of 11, but maybe going down 10, 9, or whatever the case is, not 15. Can you help me understand that?
Third Chair, Councillor Burnside. So the proposal proposed the tallest building, which is the 15-story, located near the Donway West, away from the adjacent neighborhood to the west, and closer to where all the taller buildings are located. Directly across the Donway West are existing apartment buildings ranging from 11 to 15 story tall, and also there are some approved development application around from 28 to 32 story. For the both buildings, the proposal incorporates stepbacks, building tower setbacks, and then separation distance, and then for the 9-story located along fronting onto Paper Birch Row, it provides a transition in scale in incorporating a 45-degree angular plane measured from the front property line of the adjacent single detached homes, which is from 75 to 81 Paper Birch Drive, which are designated as neighborhoods. And the angular plane, the scales of the new buildings step down appropriately towards the existing low-rise residential buildings to the west. So staff are of the opinion that they provide appropriate transition to the lower scale neighborhood area to the west.
Okay, thank you for that, but I'm still confused. So Lawrence Avenue runs east-west, and Don Mills Road runs north-south, and then the Donway at this section connects the two. So on the sort of the northeast portion of the Donway are the shops at Don Mills. But my understanding, another principle, is that you do your massing and your heights along major arterials, and as you get deeper into the neighborhood, that transition should be down. And by my calculation, Overland's about halfway, so that should be the lowest point. And we know that the lowest point across the street are 11 stories, so wouldn't it make sense that this development certainly is no more than 11 and actually would be lower? Or are you guys kind of going up and down like a roller coaster?
Through the chair, Councillor, it's David Sitt here. I'll take a crack at trying to answer your question. I mean, I think the principle of developments stepping down as you get closer to neighborhoods is a fairly accurate one that we try to achieve. Doesn't always happen that way, that it steps down perfectly, at an angle. I would say that. There's different ways we deal with transition. Certainly we deal with transition through the use of the angular planes, as my colleague had said. We also deal with transition through separation distances and also various things like step backs and setbacks. So there's different ways to deal with transition. I would also note that some of the buildings that you referred to on the other side of the Donway, even though they may be 11 stories or 12 stories high, we also need to also consider the overall metric height of the buildings. So those heights actually, when you look at them, they may be actually taller than the buildings that we're seeing here on this side, even though it's 15 stories, but the metric height itself is only 50 meters. Compared to
that's the case?
Compared to the ones on the other side of the street.
Is that the case?
It is the case. So some of the ones on the other side of the street, for example, the 14-story building.
No, sorry, I just was talking directly across the street, the 11.
Yeah, okay, the 11-story across is 36 meters, and then
Sorry,
the 12-story building.
Sorry, I missed that. I just missed that. Can you repeat?
36 meters.
Pardon me?
36 meters.
Are the 11 across the street?
And the 12-story one, which is right next door, is 73 meters.
Okay. So the 11 stories are 36 meters?
That's the information,
Okay.
yes, that I have.
And this 15 story is how many meters?
50.84.
Well, that's not down.
No, I'm saying, well, you're looking at the one immediately across the street, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are other buildings on that other side of the street as well that we would consider as part of the existing and planned context, because there are buildings that are existing and have been approved across the street. I know you're saying immediately across the street, but I would look at it as part of the broader area.
Okay, so that's the answer. It's the broader area. It doesn't sort of come down from the arterials into the neighborhood and that way. It's kind of some roller coaster.
Yeah, and I think you'll see that all across the city in terms of that. It's not a straight clothesline line that comes from the highest peak to the lowest.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnside. One of the deputants that we were unable to connect with earlier is now available. So if George Kadamov is available, you can speak on the item. Mr. Kadamov?
Hello?
Mr. Kadamov, thanks for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. I didn't know it was star 6 to unmute. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I was not part of the initial meetings, as I was not aware of the meetings and consultations. Since the posting was put up on the site as the first notice of meeting that I have been the opportunity to participate in, I believe that the process of informing the community of new developments can certainly be improved. I know that some or all of the following has been discussed, but don't think it hurts to illustrate that everyone has some similar concerns. I believe the purpose of this exercise is to provide input on the rezoning of this lot to allow a company to build a bigger business than is currently permitted. In this scenario, after thorough research and open-minded evaluation, I really only see one benefactor, which is the business and other local businesses as well. I don't see any benefit to anyone currently owning property or residing in the area. The people that will lose money in this scenario are the following. The condo owners in 99 the Donway West, who purchased their units and paid a premium cost of an unobstructed view of the western sunset and Toronto skyline. The residents on Paper Birch directly in front of the complex, who will all see their property values plummet, as well as others that are affected by the increased traffic and diminished sunlight. The private school across the street that will have to deal with years of construction and immense traffic and pollution caused. This is to name a few, as the list will grow in the future if this precedent is set and large condo buildings are built on the outside of the Donway East and West Circle. Let me be clear, I have no problem with building on the property with something that fits the spot and makes sense. I have no problem with increasing the allowed density to build a couple more 4 to 6 story buildings or townhouse units that were approved back in 2009. But we have to admit that there are issues that will arise from this large build. Here are some concerns. 99 the Donway West currently has a very bad wind tunnel between the two buildings. By looking at the wind study, this issue will certainly become worse, and I'm sure it was not investigated. There currently isn't a great demand for rentals in the area. If there were, there wouldn't be 41 units sitting for months on the market in the Don Mills, the Shops at Don Mills complex, with multiple units still not sold in the new Rodeo condos and new developments at the Shops at Don Mills continuously delayed. And the addition of only 2 visitor parking spots for an additional 230 units, with only 50% of owners having parking spots, means there will be a large overflow of visitors and tenants parking their cars on Paper Birch and around the immediate area, significantly affecting the quality of life for those people. The report on traffic impact to the area is extremely understated. As an example, it assumes 22 outbound cars in peak AM traffic. There are 177 parking spots in the building other than visitor spots. I've lived in condo buildings, and the majority of cars leave in the morning, leave the building to go to work. A feasibility study should always assume a worst-case scenario and that all cars leave the building, especially in an area with lack of transit. There are currently multiple buildings that have not even been planned for sale yet in the shops at Don Mills, which shows that the demand for homes in the area is not high. Shouldn't we exhaust the supply within the shops first before we plan to build on the outside of it into the neighborhoods? If there is a demand for rental units, why don't we just build them within the shops at Don Mills complex? The owners at Shops at Don Mills have already lost the community center that was promised at time of purchase because the city did not hold the developer to account. We all lost money because of that with no compensation. In the end, it is all about money and feasibility. We should build what makes sense, and those affected negatively monetarily should not be overlooked and neglected. If the zoning was not being changed, we would not be having this conversation and would be in the same boat as those poor people in Ajax who are being evicted from their affordable rental homes. In the end, I want to assure you I'm not against building on the property, but I think that there are issues that are being overlooked and should be considered. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Well, let's pick up where we left off. Questions for staff. Councillor Burnside, you were completed. You were finished. Okay. Any other questions for staff? And we move to speakers. Speakers on the item. Councillor Burnside.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first of all, would like to recognize Kim and Dale. You know, in a lot of developments, there are a lot of passionate people. Rarely have I seen anyone do so much research and have such a good understanding of planning. One of the challenges, though, is that the planning world is is in a state of flux. And I think you heard it with my questions to staff about transition, and it seems to be a little bit all over the map now. A lot of pressure from the feds and the province to develop. Traffic doesn't matter. You know, egress doesn't matter. A lot of things don't matter. But I am concerned that we do need to try to maintain some of our planning principles. And my understanding of planning principles was a transition down, not a transition up. And so I will not be supporting this. But I am well aware that when it gets to city council, that my view is in the minority. If you watch the news, they asked me to speak because I am the minority, and it's a real uphill battle. But at this stage, I'm going to ask my colleagues to not support it especially because of the point I mentioned. But I do recognize that council is of the mindset, build, and build, and the communities don't really matter. So I just want to put that out there, and those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnside. Anyone to speak on the item? No. Recorded vote. All those in favor of the application? Opposed? Councillor Chernos-Lynn, Councillor Burnside, Councillor Chang, and Councillor Pasternak. Next item, 22.3, 150 the Donway West. We have a number of deputants. Kim Jaskovic.
Can I talk after? Can I speak later?
Like how much later?
After a couple of people speak.
Okay. Yeah, I could change the list.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Helen Kaluski.
Just point of order. Chair Pasternak, I wonder if we might be able to go to the timed item just because we're so close to 11 and I see that the family is in chambers.
Yes. Okay. These are all timed items, but I'd be happy to deviate from what's on the agenda to accommodate that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your indulgence.
So just for clarity's sake, we're going to move to an 11 o'clock timed item. naming recommendation for a parcel of land with Lawrence Park Ravine to J. Robinson Park. Are there any deputations? I don't see any deputations on the item. Councillor Chernos Lynn, do you have any questions for staff?
No, I don't have any questions from staff, but I
Okay.
do wish to speak.
All right, so we'll go to speakers. Councillor Chernos Lynn?
Thank you. I am moving the recommendation from my letter that City Council approve the naming of a new park within Lawrence Park Ravine as J. Robinson Park. J. Robinson served as the City Councillor for Don Valley West for almost 14 years and left a lasting mark on our community and our city. In response to City Council's direction, staff reviewed potential sites in the ward, and this park was identified as the preferred option, not only in the staff report, but also after consulting with her family. Jay's husband, Bill, and her sons, Jake, Sam, and Will, and extended family are also joining us in the chamber today, as well as some of her, actually I would say many of her former staff who are here as well. Naming this park after J. Robinson, with a prominent frontage on Yonge Street, is a fitting testament to her years of public service and community leadership. Jay was beloved in Don Valley West, and many residents have expressed support for naming a park in her honor since her passing. And I would say that as I knocked on doors last year, so many people spoke to me about this. So this seems so fitting. She, of course, lived nearby, and her friends, family, and community will have the opportunity to reflect on her great life and legacy while enjoying this beautiful park for many years to come. As a committed supporter of Toronto's ravines and green spaces, Jay spearheaded ambitious park revitalizations and ravine restoration projects across Ward 15. Opening new parks was one of her favorite parts of the job, and she built many, many new parks. At City Hall, Jay championed planning reform, road safety, investment in public transit, and fiscal responsibility. She was a committed environmentalist and played a leading role in expanding and protecting Toronto's tree canopy and advancing sustainability initiatives, including reducing single-use plastics and textile waste. As Chair of Public Works and Infrastructure, Jay introduced the city's first Vision Zero road safety plan and long-term waste management strategy. From 2018 to 2022, she served as chair of the Toronto Transit Commission, the TTC, of course, and stewarded the organization through the challenging years of the COVID-19 pandemic. Under her leadership, the TTC secured historic investments in public transit, fast-tracked critical infrastructure projects, and expanded its electric bus fleet. That was certainly in keeping with her commitment to environmentalism. Most recently, and close to her passing, she spearheaded Toronto's preparations for the 2026 FIFA World Cup and led efforts to bring a professional women's soccer team to the city. Prior to her election in 2010, Jay was a dedicated Toronto public servant and responsible for founding and producing Toronto's most iconic special events, including Nuit Blanche, Moose in the City, the Celebrate Toronto Street Festival, and the Summerlicious and Winterlicious programs. A champion for the arts and for economic development, she served on the board of directors for the Art Gallery of Ontario, the Canadian Film Centre, and the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. Jay was a visionary leader at City Hall and a strong voice for the communities she represented in Don Valley West. I, of course, had the opportunity to work with Jay firsthand as the school trustee for 6 years, and I was always impressed by Jay's professionalism and her responsiveness whenever I called. Her staff have often told me about her incredible work ethic, her tenacity, her meticulous attention to detail, and her keen, keen sense of humor. I know that this park naming means a lot to all who knew her. And although I know she is greatly missed by so many, especially her family, I know that her legacy will live on in Don Valley West and in the city. And I am honored to put forward this motion today, recognizing her extraordinary, extraordinary leadership on behalf of our ward and on behalf of the City of Toronto. And I hope all will support. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Chernos Lynn. Very wonderful remarks. I did have some remarks here that would reiterate a lot of what you've said, and a lot of what I had said at City Council and here in Community Council. But I thank you very much for bringing this recommendation forward. I think it is most appropriate to Jay, and of course I welcome the family here for listening in. Jay and I came onto council in 2010 as a new group of 14 councillors, and one thing I always relied on with Jay was advice. And one thing I certainly miss, and I often say to myself, what would Jay do? And is she really gone? But we worked together, we sat on executive committee together, and we sat on this community council together. She was certainly a pioneer when it came to our green spaces, preserving the natural environment, including trees, and of course, strong advocate in tennis and soccer. And of course, one of her last motions was trying to establish a professional women's soccer league as a legacy project of FIFA World Cup 2026. She also supported many of the motions that, many of the ideas or initiatives that I wanted as well, including making Antibes Community Center a free programming, a priority center at the time. And of course, she worked on my motion, or seconded my motion, to add extra resources to the Toronto Police Services, a crime unit, which they did, actually. So she was a valued member of North York Community Council. She vigorously fought for her community, but she defended the natural environment, as mentioned. So I think this is a most suitable event, a most suitable naming, something I support wholeheartedly. I thank once again the local councillor for advocating, and of course, we are so sorry to the family. We're so sorry about the loss. She is greatly missed, and I know there are big shoes to fill, and Councillor Chernos Lynn is certainly working in that direction. So with that, I'd just like to commend Jay in her absence, and once again thank her for the great contribution to this city and to North York, and of course to her local community. Councillor Cheng?
Just want to make a brief comment and say that I fully support this motion. And I did not have the privilege of working closely with Jay, unfortunately, in my few years of being a city councillor. But hearing about all the legacy pieces that she has left here in our city is especially moving. And I just want to take a moment and speak to her kids. Because I had the privilege of attending the funeral and hearing the remarkable eulogies that you shared. And as this moment, we, are saying how much I'm sure you are proud of your mom and her contributions to the city. I want to say that I think she would be so proud of you for what you shared at her funeral and the human beings that clearly she has thoughtfully raised. And I know that you will, in the echo of her life, make significant contributions to the city and to this world as you grow in your career. So just wanted to say that because it was so moving to hear all the reflections that you shared, and it gave me, I think, some comfort, because as a mom and a city councillor, I sometimes struggle to know how I can do this role well in the busyness and pressure of this work. And so just hearing what you shared, it gave me great encouragement of the kind of mom that I can be. So just wanted to share that impact that you had that day. And I look forward to seeing this park and the light that it shines on the contributions that your mom made. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Cheng. And once again, Bill, Jake, Sam, Will, we certainly support this initiative, and it will be a lasting legacy of Jay. Yes.
I just also wanted to add that unfortunately, Councillor Cole is under the weather today and having IT issues that could not be resolved. Councillor Carroll is out of the country, I think. But both had written to me with very strong support for this park naming. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. We're back in session, and Councillor Chernos Lynn has moved the recommendations. There's actually an amendment because we're going to deviate from city policy. We're going to be moving it now instead of the wait period. So the motion is on the screen. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. The item is amended. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay.
Okay, we're moving on to NY 22. Oh, we just finished 22.3. 150 the Donway West and 4 Overland Drive. And we have speakers, Kim Draskovic. Are you online? Oh, you're here. Oh, you wanted to go second. Okay, so we'll go with Helen Kalushki. She's online. So you have You have 5 minutes, Helen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm struggling with a video for some reason.
It's
I need a
okay. You
video.
can speak. You don't need to have your video on to make a deputation.
Oh, well, I do, in fact. But, something unplanned. First, I wanted to say that Jay Robinson has really, really helped us as tenants, as her constituents when she was a counselor for our area. And this was greatly appreciated. And Mr. Burnside is continuing to do that, and hopefully he will continue. So my name is Helen. I live with my 92-year-old mother at 4 Overland Drive in one of the apartments slated for demolition. I would first like to address Achilles' intention to make a public park in front of our building. I have never heard of a residential building being erected in the middle of the park. A public park means noisy parties, barbecues, unleashed dogs running around, urinating and defecating on this minuscule piece of land, unruly children, running around and screaming their lungs out, and all that from early spring till late fall. And at night, guess what? I hear about a few safe injection sites being slated for closure in Toronto. Here you go. You got another one at night. And leaving for work or school in the morning, residents will have the pleasure of finding used needles and other discarded stuff, and I don't need to tell you, under their feet. Then how about public washrooms? Will there be one with a stink around the area, or will park attendees urinate and defecate right under our windows? But let me get down to our personal situation. For us, this is literally, very literally, a matter of life and death, especially for my mother. She's a frail 92-year-old senior suffering from diabetes, arthritis, high blood pressure, glaucoma, digestive issues, dermatological issues, after a complicated heart surgery, aortic valve replacement, homebound, and almost bedbound. She has to follow an extremely strict diet and needs daily medications, daily sugar and blood pressure measurements, and daily injections of insulin and weekly injections of Ozempic, and you name it. So when I alerted our family doctor, and we have a support letter from him, that we are going to be kicked out of our apartment, he was horrified. And I want to ask all of you, the members of the council, would you find uprooting and throwing onto the street a frail 92-year-old senior with an array of illnesses? Would you find it humane? I'm her sole caregiver, but not much help in moving, because I'm after a heart attack and angioplasty, and I suffer from chronic disabling migraines. And I'm on 6 daily medications myself. Hiring help or putting my mother in respite care means getting COVID almost 100%, because it's a congregate setting, or somebody coming in to our apartment from outside. And please allow me to remind you that COVID is alive and thriving. It's just that we don't have the stats. And my uncle has just died of COVID here in Toronto. And guess what the chances of a frail 92-year-old senior with 4 pre-existing conditions getting over COVID are? I'm pretty sure you can answer that question for yourselves. My mother is also a Holocaust survivor, recognized by Claims Conference. And in the 40s of the last century, the Holocaust was perpetrated by German fascists. It looks like at this time, in the 21st century, my mother is headed for her very own personal mini Holocaust. Courtesy Achilles. I'm sure that for Achilles, deaths of a few people here and there don't matter. This is corporate greed. They are after profit.
Thank you,
And
Helen.
this
You have,
justifies
I'm
everything else for
sorry,
them.
you've reached your 5 minutes. Can you just wrap up, please?
Yes, and I would like everybody here to be aware of the fact that by allowing Achilles to have its way, you're basically, essentially delivering a death sentence to my mother.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
it.
Helen. Any questions for the deputant? Seeing none, I invite Sita Dubois to make a deputation. She's online. Hi, Sita. You have 5 minutes. You have to unmute, please.
Mute? Okay, good.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
I
Thank
wanted.
you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. I just wanted to mention that if you approve the proposal, the density of population on this site will increase by something like 200% or more. And this is an area, as we have already noted, that has seen a number of housing projects and increases in density. While there are some advantages to higher density, there are also disadvantages, like, as we've mentioned, increased traffic congestion, noise pollution, and limited green spaces. With more effective planning, some of these disadvantages could be mitigated. My neighbors have already addressed issues of inappropriate building height and size. But I also want to consider another side of the project, because I note the limited information that has been provided in this proposal about floor plans. I notice there seems to be an overwhelming number of smaller studio and one-bedroom units, and an underwhelming number of, say, 3-bedroom units. With a higher number of the bigger units, density could be better managed in this building, in this proposal, and there would be rental housing for families. And this is, of course, badly needed in our city. This also means that the impact of traffic congestion would be lessened due to fewer vehicles from this site. I also note that, as others have, the limited amount of green space also needs better planning and management from the point of view of, for example, stormwaterscaping and parkland. Green spaces are substantially reduced in this plan. I am shocked, actually, that council is considering approving a proposal which calls for the displacement of tenants at a time when rental housing is really hard to come by. And although Achilles is saying that they would provide assistance for the displaced tenants, this would not be the choice of the tenants. And it will be for a significant period of time, in terms of years. I also note that it appears the existing rental buildings are protected as rentals for quite a long period of time. But that does not seem to be true for the proposed new builds. So while this proposal does appear to be pro-rental, protections do not seem to be fully in place at this time to protect the new builds from becoming condos in the future. These are some of my concerns. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you very much to Kim Draskovich.
Great, thank you. Any questions for the deputant? Thank you very much. Kim, can you speak now? Great, thank you.
Hello again.
Hi.
first off, I would just want to make it clear that these are not affordable housing that is being built on this land. And the fact that 10 units to attach to the buildings, an apartment building, and another building they call residence, they have never mentioned once in their application that the buildings they're building are apartment buildings. During construction, for the demolition, you're not going to have 10 units. You're going to have 113 units displaced. It is on both sides of both buildings. It would be impossible to keep tenants there. And even the plan, Weston said during some times the tenants will all have to leave. So think about that. That's a lot of displacement. 113 units, that's a lot. Now the other part too is the public park. That public park, right where the learning center is, just half a block away, there's a massive park behind it. It would be more utilizable to take money and build that, because it's massive, into a beautiful park. That's what should be done with that portion. Now, the other part too is we have Willett Creek running underneath the building. The sand, the silt, and infill, it's extremely moist and wet. 4 Overland Drive has been flooded many times since I've lived there. And the stair casing has been deteriorated from the water levels. If you displace that water, think about the path, because water doesn't care. It's going to go anywhere it finds a path. Will that be flooding 4 Overland, flooding the homes across the street? That is something that really needs to be taken a look at. And the other part that I have is during a construction, you have Thompson House, a long-term care facility. I think there's 137 people there. It's a downwind. So all the construction debris, sanding of cement, tiles, it's all going to go into the air intake vents of those units south of that, which is Better Living Center, the school, Montessori School, the church, the learning center, all of that. And that is a lot to take in. They'll have to probably displace their tenants, their patients during this period. So that would be a lot of displacement of individuals. That's all I wish to say at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions for the deputant? Okay, thank you very much. Kim? Dale LePage?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, councilors and staff plus the attendees. My name is Dale LePage, and I reside at 150 the Donway West. I'm also the president of the Donway Overland Tenants Association. Today, I address our opposition to the rental housing demolition application 22234-840 NNRH 16 and the obfuscating plan to affix the new buildings to the existing ones. Achilles Canada Limited has submitted a rental housing demolition application to convert 10 two-bedroom units into one-bedroom apartments, requiring the eviction of the current tenants. The development plan includes 2 rental apartment buildings, connecting the existing buildings through the partial sidewalls. All right, our opposition. First of all, structural deficiencies. It appears the use of the existing structures at Donway Overland has changed due to demolition. And when that occurs, the buildings need to be reanalyzed to comply with current codes and standards. In other words, you want to join a new building to one that was built 60 years ago when standards were much lower. And if a structural evaluation is not conducted before the demolition, the integrity of the entire building could be compromised. Achilles, to our knowledge, has not conducted such an evaluation. The effects of demolition at Donway Overland. The demolition of the 10 units is a large and complicated undertaking that requires heavy-duty construction equipment. The machinery will demand the removal of the exterior wall, roof, stairwell, basement area, and hallway. The residual effect of this activity, which is never mentioned conveniently, and asbestos. The tenants reside in units, like mine, meters away from the construction zone. How can tenants live in such conditions, particularly those with infants and preschool children? Many of the new tenants have brought in their children. Councillors, imagine the plight of the tenant who lives across the hall from a demolished apartment. The noise, the dust, the dirt. We encountered Achilles' approach to construction standards while they were renovating apartments, and tenants had a terrible experience. Construction and planning are not Achilles' forte. Achilles and their consultants will provide a well-rehearsed narrative that explains away our concerns. But don't be deceived. Our statements have the value of empirical knowledge and observation. It would help, too, if Achilles would come to the property and actually look at it. Vibrations from the demolition project are a concern, especially for 4 Overland Drive, which is built over a tributary of Wilcott Creek and on damp soil by the original owners, Jamesview Holding Limited. Because of these factors, 4 Overland Drive was built shallow and inherently unstable. The building has shifted over time and floods have been frequent during spring.
If you could, you just have a few seconds left, if you could wrap up.
Jane got 7 minutes and 33 seconds. Because I'm not a corporate sponsor?
All right, well, you know what, that was an oversight, okay? And I've said that earlier.
Well, you're the guy that's supposed to handle that.
Okay,
It's on
well,
you.
okay, so shoot me. Pratibha Kanaran? Pratibha?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Okay.
You might have to turn off one of your devices.
I agree strongly with the other people in the neighborhood who've spoken. They've covered a lot of the points that I was planning to make. I have 3 questions. I realize they're going to be rhetorical, but will Paper Birch or the Donway be subject to road closures? Both sites that where the build is going to happen are very small. I can't see that all the construction vehicles are going to fit on the site and still build what they're planning to build. Will the site be completely fenced in and preferably boarded up so that there's no entry from Paper Birch during construction by either vehicles or foot traffic from construction workers? And then where will existing tenants park during the construction period? So it's not just Paper Birch that's impacted. All the streets that empty onto Overland and the Donway West will be impacted. It's impossible to think that this will not be a lengthy road closure during development, as the building site is small, as I mentioned. And note that there is, somebody else has mentioned it, a long-term care facility just across the entrance from 4 Overland currently. This portion of Overland is the main entrance and exit out of the neighborhood, both on foot and by car. And not to mention the entrance to the shops of Don Mills as well. Again, I don't know if city planners have been out to this site to take a look at it, but I think if the planners were able to come out here, our concerns would be obvious. It's visible. And lastly, I'd like to say again that we would really, as the residents in the homes bordering this development, appreciate a meeting with the planning and council, city council, to discuss our concerns and be kept informed. We are not well informed. And that's it from me.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much for your comments. And no matter what's decided today, it does go to City Council, so you'll be able to work with your local councillor and planning between now and then. Kimberly Sanderson? Please unmute, Kimberly.
There we go.
Great.
Okay, I'm going to go on a whole nother side of things that none of us have touched yet. We're all looking at the personal effects and the seniors and everything else, and yes, I agree with all of that. Trust me, this is not a young neighborhood. But then we're not looking at the environmental impact. The fact that you try to do a demolition, that's going to create an influx of rodents. We already have an issue of rats. I know, not one we like to speak of, but because of the shops of Don Mills, the rats are going into the backyards. Are you guys going to pay for the rat removal? The raccoons, the coyotes. We already have deer and buck that come. Now the bunnies live in hiding. The birds, well, they're just up in the air. But all of this impacts the dogs that can't tolerate the noise, the children who will end up being deafened by the amount of construction. Not only the adults are going to be impacted, but everything else. The garbage routes will have to be changed. The whole point, and yes, there is an issue with Overland. It is the one thoroughway between Barbara Green, Overland. It is the one way around to the Donway. There is no other way. You could try going up some of the side streets, but even they're impacted because of construction vehicles, the overnight parking, and the downright disrespect of other people just coming and parking on the side streets. This is not something that we should even be discussing at this time. We cannot even have them commit to the height and the plan in their what they're planning on constructing. So how can we authorize any form of demolition at this time? This is not fair. This will not only displace a lot of people, there is no housing to put them into. And some of these people, once they move, they won't come back. They won't be able to afford it because no matter how much they'll say, oh yeah, you could come back at the rate you're paying right now. We know that's a lie because immediately, as soon as the building's built, it will be based on the standards of the year it's built. You cannot tell me otherwise. You can't tell the rest of these people otherwise. And if you do, then that is on you because you're not acknowledging what the reality is. Reality is no one will be able to afford to live in the area. People that grew up here, people that literally have written in their wills to their children, their grandchildren, that, yeah, you get my unit, now up in smoke. Because somebody has decided we need to build. We have enough building that has occurred. We do not have all the housing filled at the shops at Don Mills. You keep trying to build and tear down in the Don Mills area. How about we fill what we've got? There's nothing about affordable housing. Nothing. There is no rent cap. There is none of this, how shall we say, low rent. The Don Mills area is one of the highest costing areas. So the wildlife that do come up from the valley, from Everett's Gardens, Wilkett Creek Park, Taylor Creek, Sunnybrook Park, they all come up, they all cross Overland, they all cross Leslie, and they're all, every night, you can see them wandering. Now, we don't complain because we, as residents of Don Mills, have learned to live with these animals. But doing more construction, that's going to cause more of an uproot, more of a problem. And you wonder why coyotes are attacking people? Because we keep taking their homes. Thank you.
All right, right on time. Any questions for the deputant? No? Okay, Kimberly, thank you very much. Questions for staff? Councillor Burnside?
Yeah, thank you. Two questions. You'll be able to answer the second one for sure, but the first one is about anticipated road closures. Do we have any idea of that, or would that only come when it comes to site plan? Because a resident did mention, or did have the concern about Overland and or paper birch.
So through the chair, I would say right now it's probably a little early in the process to determine that, because normally when we get to the site plan process, there will be, a construction management plan that will be required. And at that point, we'll understand what will need to happen on site.
Okay. So now the other question is about the rental replacement policy. That was brought up and by the previous individual, and I just want to clarify that, because City Council has been very strong in this over the years, and there are guarantees in place, and we actually have folks from the actual department who work very hard to ensure certain things. But I really just, at this point of the conversation, just want to focus on people who would have to move out in terms of when they return the rent they pay. That's the only question I have right now. So if that you could answer, that would be great.
Through the chair to you, Councillor, thank you for the question. So we have an agreement that's registered on title that ensures that 10 tenants who are living in those 10 units that are affected will return to replacement rental units with similar rents. I say similar because they will be increased by the provincial guideline, but they will be very similar to what they are paying right now.
Okay, so thank you. Let me just, because you are very soft-spoken.
So sorry.
No, I can summarize. So, for instance, and just to be clear, I'm in no way defending moving folks out. I just want to make sure that people understand what the policy is. That's all. This is strictly a policy question. If someone, let's say someone's paying a fictional amount of $1,000 per month, and they are moved out, and I know their expenses that are covered and all that, but and the province says, okay, it's a 2% rental increase per year. 3 years later, they'd be somewhere around like 1,060. It would be no different than if they still lived there. That's, I guess, the point. So whatever they're paying now, if you're a lucky tenant that stays there, your rent will be the same as the person that returns to a new unit, correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that's it. Thank you. And you said 10 folks, 10 units? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burnside. Any other questions for staff? Speakers? Councillor Burnside?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, it follows, given that we voted against approving the actual development, that we would do the same with the demolition. I just want to say two things. One is that what happens, and the process was clarified for me, it now goes to City Council without recommendations. Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, I am very sensitive to these sorts of files myself, and Kim and I spoke about it. I live in Don Mills, off the Donway, and I'm 100 meters from a development that's 4 towers, et cetera, so I understand the impacts, and I'm acutely aware, but I'm also aware of the limitations that any city council has now in terms of moving forward. But I'm going to move that we deny.
Okay. Any other speakers on the item? Okay. On a recorded vote. Okay. Okay, so we don't need a recorded vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That fails. Okay. Item 22.4, 3377 Bayview Avenue, draft plan of subdivision application, decision report approval. We have 3 deputants on the item. Alex Mather. And you are the applicant?
I'm indeed, Mr. Chair, and I'm joined also by Emma West. She's a registered speaker, and we thought we could just collapse our time into one, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. So, Alex, you're with Collective, and Emma, you were with Boostfields?
That is correct.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, councillors. My name is Alex Mather. I'm the Vice President of Development at Collective Marquee. We are thrilled here today to be moving this project along on behalf of, or in partnership with, I should say, Tyndale University. Today we're bringing the subdivision plan approval forward, and Ashley's got some, I was going to say slides. I don't know if it's still slides if it's on a projector, but hopefully the councillors and staff can see it. I'll pass over to Emma in a minute to talk specifically about the project, but I just wanted to take a second to thank staff on this project, David Sitt, John Andrzejewski, Michelle Charkow, and Marion Purgell. This is a years-long process that is partially coming to culmination now, and it's a big, complex project, and we wouldn't be here today on the precipice of delivering hundreds of new affordable homes in North York, be it not for the work of staff, so it's very much appreciated. I'll also extend thanks to Valessa Faria and Councillor Carroll. Similarly, their leadership was very important in getting us to where we are today. So thanks to you. Over to you, Emma.
Thanks, Alex. So I'll just touch briefly. As Alex said, this is a plan of subdivision application. And I just wanted to mention a few key points. We won't take too much time. We appreciate the report and the fulsome nature of what was described in the staff report. We agree with the recommendations in the staff report, in that the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, that is consistent with the approved OPA and ZBA that was approved in principle at the OLT almost 2 years ago. And one thing I do want to point out, because it is a plan of subdivision, this is about creating blocks and streets. It isn't about land use. It isn't about built form. It isn't about density. So that means what's before you today and what a decision will be made on is the creation of the blocks and streets. There are 10 blocks in the plan of subdivision. You can see on the screen that one of those is a very large open space block, which covers more than 60% of the site. And that's going to be dedicated as an open space and given to the TRCA. There will be 2 blocks for parkland as well, and a publicly accessible open space. So more than 60% of the site is going to be dedicated to open space. There will be 6 blocks for development and 1 block retained for Tyndale University, and 1 new public street that will have 2 entrances from Bayview Avenue. The site currently has 2 entrances from Bayview Avenue. So again, this is about the creation of blocks and streets. It's not about the official plan or zoning. That's already been approved in principle a couple of years ago through a settlement with the city to define what the land use built form and all of the matters in the official plan and zoning regulations are. So in conclusion, thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak on this. Again, the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the OPA and ZBA that are approved in principle by the OLT, and the plan of subdivision addresses appropriately the criteria set out in the Planning Act in section 5117. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions for the deputants? No? Okay, thank you very much. Alan Mack?
Good, okay.
Okay, thank you for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Sure, thank you. My name is Alan. I am, to introduce myself, I'm a professional engineer, have experience in planning, traffic management, also development for cities, large and small, ranging from New York cities to small municipalities in the north of Ontario, helping them with development to negotiating with contractors and all those fun stuff. So I come here as a resident and both semi-expert on the matter. I'm relatively against this, not against, I'm just wanting a lot more clarification in the proposal that has been set forth. The main reason is they are wanting to introduce 2,500 residents within this block, which only has 3,000 residents. So they've only looked at local environmental impacts and not impact on the current transportation system, both in terms of road network, transit, and bike. Second, they haven't looked into any sort of impact to local schools. Currently, the local school is called Steelview Public School. Currently has 250 students enrolled. With the proposed 2,500 residences, based on the StatCan information, that is the proposed 60 to 70 additional students for that specific elementary school. That is a 33% increase in enrollment for that school without any additional funding to that school. That school is already pretty old, so that's the outline. For example, there's also additional lack or inconsistent data for the development analysis. So 1, they haven't used any StatCan information to identify demographic, what the population should be, what is the percentage of children, people who bike, people who walk, people who transit. So for example, within the demographic, only 18% of people use transit or bike. Second is if they have 1,500 units planned with 2,500 residences, that they've only allocated 1,300 parking spots. So there is more than, if you talk about residents, also buildings, also units to parking, there is a 200 gap, 200 space gap, which again, overflow to the surrounding areas. Additionally, the numbers that they've been using for traffic analysis does not align with the City of Toronto's traffic count analysis. So City of Toronto right now on Bayview counts about 2,800 vehicles on peak period PM. However, in their report, they've only used 2,500. That is an offset of more than 10%. That is not an engineering plus or minus discrepancy. So again, a lot of these analysis needs to be improved. Again, it is the inconsistent data. Also, last one is they haven't assessed any sort of market analysis within the area. So within Tyndale, within 100 meters away, there's already 3 mid-rise locations that has approximately 750 units. Right now, certain units are living on rent for about 4 to 5 months. So understanding, as previous motions has, they haven't done any sort of market analysis to understand what is available and what is the actual demand in that area. So again, there are 3 things. One is a lack of understanding of traffic, both in terms of vehicle traffic, transit traffic, and bike. No one's going to bike in that area because everyone has been on Bayview. No one's going to bike on Bayview. So they have 1,500 bike parking spots allocated, most likely only for summer use. Second is the impact of local schools, a 33% increase in enrollment, which the developer has not mentioned any sort of compensation to the school systems there. Third is the lack of using additional information, which is available, like Statistics Canada, local market, so the marketplace next door, the mid-rise housing next door, and also a proper traffic count.
You could wrap up, please. You're over 5 minutes.
So again, I think we just need additional assessments, not necessarily to push forth. I love densification. I lived in downtown before. I love walkability, but we just need more. This is almost doubling the amount of population without understanding the impact of all infrastructures in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much. Any questions for the deputant? Councillor Cheng?
Thank you. Did you hear what the previous deputant mentioned, that
Yes.
this proposal was already approved at the OLT, and in fact, what we're moving here today has nothing to do with the built form or the population that is moving in?
But the question is that once it's cut, I've worked with council already. Once it's cut, the motion's pretty, it's a snowball effect. So I think we need to do it further and out. I'm not saying we should stop. I'm not saying I'm against.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's no understanding of what the actual impact, whatever cutting of the blocks you have, you're going to put housing. The question is it 1 person per block or is it 200 person per block? So no, there's no understanding of that. And according to their map, they said about 50% they're not going to build, but 50% when you actually on site, it's almost impossible to build because there are rolling hills right next to some sort of nature preserve. So saying that they're only building on half is just, that's the only allotable area. So that's why I just want to make sure that before we go forth in any compensation, we should understand, because there's also deer location, deer and coyote populations within that ravine right next door. Putting additional residential space could be impacted as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Cheng. Any other questions for the deputant? No? Okay, questions for staff? Speakers? Well, I'm going to move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 6, 499 Briar Hill Avenue, request for fence exemption to Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447. Benjamin Shapiro.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Mr. Shapiro?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you. Thank you for joining us. Your 5 minutes.
Oh, great, thank you. Good morning, members of the North York Community Council. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to speak regarding the proposed fence exemption that we have applied for. As you've no doubt read in your report for action summary, there are 2 items we wish to maintain. One is the second-story deck gate, which is the same height as the surrounding second-story deck railing. And the second is the ability to maintain the current gate enclosure leading up the steps from the basement walkout. I thought the summary encapsulated our core reason for believing an exemption should be granted, which is that both the current and, importantly, the additional safety measures we've implemented, specifically the automatic hard pull cover and marine-grade mesh fence, are definitely within the spirit of the code. And one could make the case possibly above and beyond the spirit, and most importantly, resulted in a backyard pool environment that is extremely safe. The safety was top of mind when we installed the pool. That was our sole motivating factor for purchasing an automatic hard pull cover and in putting in the fence surrounding the pool. There are photos of the hard pull cover and the fence that I've sent to the city clerk. Is the council able to view them?
Did you just ask a question? Oh, no, it's not a Q&A period.
Yes.
No.
I was wondering. Sorry. Okay. There are photos that I have sent in of the hard pull cover and the mesh fence. Hopefully, the council is able to view them. Specifically, the fence. It's made of 1,000 denier mesh. That is a measure of its strength. It's a type of mesh known for its strength and durability. The material is commonly used in outdoor gear, tactical gear, and aquamarine settings. It can withstand over 160 pounds of strength. This is very modern technology out of the US. It exceeds the minimum US ASTM safety standards by 300%. The automatic hard pull cover is from CoverStar, which also meets the safety standards set by ASTM. ASTM is an international safety tool organization. Canada also uses ASTM safety testing, by the way. I'm not sure why. Well, I'll get to that later. Anyways, Canada abides by ASTM as well. These specific guidelines for the pool cover were created to remove the risk of drowning by inhibiting access to children under 5 years of age. These standards are used throughout states and municipalities across the U.S. In order to meet these specifications, the pool cover must bear a minimum weight of 485 pounds. I assume at some point in the future, the bylaw for pool fencing will be updated to reflect these new and modern safety technologies as they have in other regions around the world. Until then, I hope and ask that the council take these under consideration. Now that I've outlined the additional safety measures that we've installed, I'll speak directly to the 2 items we wish to maintain. With respect to the second-story gate, it is so high up with the deck around 12 feet above ground that if one were to climb over the gate, they would not then be in a realistic position to access the pool, as they would be injured from the theoretical fall. Given the height of the deck above ground, it seems very reasonable to us to accept the gate height that is 0.12 meters or 12 centimeters less than the 1.2 meter height listed in the bylaw, especially when you take into consideration the additional safety measures in place. With respect to the gate enclosure coming up from the basement walkout, as the pool was put in after the house was built, we had to work within the existing framework of the backyard. If a child were to climb and then jump over the gate, which would be a 4-foot free fall, so unlikely in my view, they would still be completely unable, and this is the key point, completely unable to access the pool due to fence we installed. And if they somehow got past that, which they can't, the automatic closed pool cover would stop them. As mentioned, the pool cover is so strong that you can actually walk on it. So in light of the extensive additional safety measures that we've put in, resulting in the fact that the pool is essentially inaccessible unless we open both the fence and the automatic pool cover, I sincerely ask that the council proceed with the alternative recommendation in granting our request for this fence exemption. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Any questions for the deputant? Okay. Questions for staff? Councillor Chang?
Questions for staff? Councillor Chang?
We're in an echo chamber. I have a question about this, what is being proposed or has already been built here. What concerns about safety do you have with this proposal? Oh, there you are. Thank you.
Sorry, good afternoon.
Just wondering if you have any concerns about this, what is shown here that has already been built.
Through you, Chair, the extra measures that the homeowner has put in, it's not considered in the bylaw as an approved enclosure source. So we can't look at that as an acceptable feature. Our main concerns are the climbability factor from the walkout basement, as well as the gate height. We're not too concerned about the guard around the walkout upstairs, because as the homeowner indicates, it is about 12 feet above grade. But the gate itself, any gate forming part of an enclosure has to have a requirement of 1.2 meters in height, and they just are below that threshold.
What's the difference?
They're at 1.06 meters in height, and the requirement is 1.2 meters in height.
Okay. And actually, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, speakers? Councillor Burnside? We're on speakers. Did you have any questions for staff? No, the councillor's absent on this item, so we have to deal with it.
Okay, I got a question. If we defer, do we have to bring back city staff and the deputant, or can we make the decision with the information that?
They don't have to, no, they don't. Well, there's probably other items next.
Well, no, but I don't want to
council
bring
meeting
staff
that will
back
require-
because we can't make a decision. So what's the, maybe we can get an official. We don't have to bring staff back, correct?
It's likely staff will be here on other items anyway, so I don't think that's a prevailing
Okay.
view. But Councillor Chang, you want to defer the item?
I feel that we really need the input of the local councillor, and because of different issues, he's not able to be here for this moment, and I feel that it's important to reflect his wishes in this decision.
All right, we probably should have deferred it at the onset. Okay. Okay, motion of deferral is on the floor. All those in favor? Yeah, April 30th. So all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, 22.7, 390 Glencairn Avenue, application to remove a private tree. Gerard Tomlinson. Miss. Okay, okay. Before we delve into it, is there a desire to defer this so that the local council can be here for this item? Okay, okay. All those in favor of deferral? Opposed? That's carried. So, Gerard Tomlinson, I don't know whether you're the homeowner of Glencairn, but what we've decided here to defer to the next scheduled North York Community Council meeting, which is April 30th, so that the local councillor can be here and direct the proceedings. All righty. 22.8, 21 TP Court, application to remove a private tree. Yeah, no, I know. I want to see if there's a motion to defer. Is there a motion to defer, or are we going to proceed with this item? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me clearly?
Quing Zhao?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
Can
great.
you hear me
Okay,
clearly?
you're here? Okay, so thanks for joining us. You have 5 minutes.
Oh, yes. Thank you, everyone. I'm a homeowner of 21 TP Court. As I mentioned in the application, the tree poses a safety concern to my house. The tree proximity to the house with chances of steam failure due to poor structure. The tree's root system is beginning to lift interlock stone, further increasing the concern of possible root damage to my home. I have provided many supporting materials in my application. Below are a few key points. The first one is the backyard slope is unsuitable for proper drainage because the tree roots lift the interlocking stone. As a result, the water flow toward the house, leading to water accumulation along the wall. The second point is that during the rain, the water penetrates and seeps through the wall, causing a leak in the basement. As per the tree protection bylaw, the standard tree replanting ratio is 5:1. It's required for private tree non-construction application. I'm totally respect and follow the rule and replant 5 trees in my backyard. It would be appreciated if you could reconsider my application. Thank you all. Hope everyone have a nice day.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Any questions for the deputant? Councillor Chang?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, is there, I guess, proof that this tree has damaged your home?
Yes, we find the home inspector and the tree specialist. They can clearly see the angle for the backyard is improper for the drainage, and also for the basement, the wall is really wide. So my plan is to remove the tree and fix the wall of my basement.
So unfortunately, those materials are not attached to this application, so we can't see the verification of what you are saying. Have you presented this to your city councillor?
I have attached the photos from my original application. There's like the picture for the wall, for the slope of my backyard, and those kind of things. In my original application, yeah, I have provided many photos to support my point.
Is there a reason the photos are not attached to this application? Is it because it's a separate application from a previous?
I'm not sure, but I have provided when I apply for remove the tree. There's photos, files, those kind of things, and also the supporting material from arborist, the report.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask staff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Chang. Any other questions for the deputant? Just very quickly for me. So did you submit photographs and evidence to be distributed to councillors through the clerk?
I submitted previously when I for the attached to the application, the photos, a PDF file.
So they were on the application. Okay, no, we do see a picture on the report with a big tree here and some cracked stones. Okay. Any other questions for the deputant? No? Okay, thank you very much. Questions for staff? Councillor Chang?
Yes, just wondering about the photos that she mentioned where damage is seen, and just wondering why it's not part of this report, and if staff have seen or witnessed what she is claiming.
Through the chair, thank you. We do have a PDF. I was waving at the clerks over here. We don't include all of the application materials in our staff report to council. We'd be more than happy to share all these materials quite openly if that was a request that was made. But to address the next part of the question, even if it were shown that there was damage in the house, and if it were linked to the tree, the missing piece from the forestry perspective is whether the tree removal is necessary to effect repairs. As you can see from the photo in the report that we included, there's quite some distance between the back of the tree and the house. And my first thought as an arborist is that there would be room to excavate down the side of the foundation to repair the leaks, if there are any, without requiring the removal of the tree. It's possible that I'm incorrect in that, but we haven't seen any information along those lines. And that would be information we would bring back depending on how they bring that forward.
So officers did not verify the PDF that has been submitted. Just wondering, has anyone verified the damage that this applicant is claiming the tree has caused?
Through the chair, we're not structural engineers, unfortunately. We can look at the picture and make an assessment, but it's unfortunately not as simple as that. It might be more useful to consider it from the perspective of, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that there is water damage, and let's say that it is caused by the tree. We still don't know that the tree removal is necessary to effect repairs. At this distance, our inclination is that it's not, so we would deny the removal. Council may still choose to approve it and make life easier for the applicant. I should say community council.
You mentioned that the tree's distance from the
Last question.
Yeah, sorry, is something that can be dealt with, but the distance of the roots would be far greater than the distance that we see above ground. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And some amount of root pruning would probably be necessary to dig a 1 meter wide trench along the rear of the house. Based on my visual of the pictures and my staff's on the site, that's not necessarily something that would immediately require the tree's removal. It may prove to be the case, but we're just not sure.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you, Councillor Cheng. Any other questions for staff? Okay, on behalf of the local councillor, I'm going to move staff recommendations to deny the request to permit the removal of the tree. That's what I'm moving. So, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Item number 9, 1731 Henning Avenue. Kevin McEwen and Christina Glass both from the Madison Group. I don't know if we need crowd control here. Kevin McEwen and Christina Glass, both from the Madison Group. Cool. We are very excited about your deputation. We will be approving the demolition with conditions. So.
Okay, yeah, we were just here to answer any questions, understanding that Councillor Cole
Oh, I see.
not
Okay.
in attendance today.
All right. Well, we'll throw that out then. That was a very short deputation. Any questions for the deputies?
Are you aware of the conditions? And if so, do you have any issues?
Yep, we are aware of the conditions for number 3. We just wanted to clarify, so we're speaking to item 22.9, which is for 55 to 57 Montgomery. Just there are 2 separate items that are both under Madison. So for 55 and 57 Montgomery, to clarify, we would ask that recommendation number 2 be moved. The clarification on this is that this land will be forming part of a future park block. So there are obligations that we have already with the city staff to fence, sod, and do base park improvements on the site. But if the recommendation is for number 3, then that is okay.
All right, Councilor Bernstein, are you satisfied with that answer?
Sure.
Okay. So, any other questions?
Yeah, he wants.
Councilor Chernos Lynn, do you have questions for the deputies? No. Okay, so I'm gonna move recommendation number 3 on behalf of the local councillor. Well, I have it in writing here unless there's an error. Approve staff rec number 3 with demo conditions. So if someone wants to move an alternative recommendation, fine, we can put it to a vote. We almost always move 3 because we want the site cleared of rubble. I don't know why we would move 2. Okay, so look, if you want to vote against it, that's fine. The instructions.
So just through the chair, we're fine with condition number 3 being.
I mean, it's just clearing the rubble. It's normal.
That's fine.
Normal sites.
I'm just trying to protect you, Chair.
Yeah, no.
Your leadership.
Yes, no, I appreciate. I do. Yeah, no, I do appreciate the flattery. It's always welcome. Okay, so look, I'm going to move item number 3. It's approval with conditions. I can put it to a vote if someone wants to move. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Well, we've got the same speakers up here.
It's the exact same item.
Number 10 is 55 and 57 Montgomery Avenue residential demolition application. Did you want to speak? The local councillor has directed us to move approval with conditions.
That's acceptable to us. Thank you.
Okay, this is an easy negotiation. Okay, unless there are questions for the deputant or speakers, I will move recommendation number 3, approving the application to demolish with conditions. It's on the screen. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. That was the last item. Bills. Okay, so that was the last item, and now we have bills. Everything okay? Yeah. Councillor Cheng, would you like to do the bills?
Happy to. That bills 262 to 268 prepared for the April 2nd, 2025 meeting, 22 of the North York Community Council be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. One more. Councillor Burnside, you were transformative today. You were a leader in your own right. You get the honor of doing the confirmatory bills.
I want to do what I can.
No, you've done a great job. No, look, you stayed the whole meeting. That's great.
Well, well, you know what? Don't get used to it. That confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the North York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 22 on April 2, 2025 be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006. Good night, everybody.
All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much, councillors, clerk staff, public service, and of course, members of the public and deputants. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Have a good one, everyone.
Stay safe on those roads.
Yes, yes. Is it icing up?
I don't know. Fingers crossed, no. Fingers crossed.
That's your iPad, I hope.